When there is a war, it doesn't matter who your enemy is, you need to destroy their offspring to prevent them from creating more offspring.
Dehumanization refers to the act of perceiving victimized subgroups as not completely human. Psychologists distinguish between two types of non-humanness: one that denies uniquely human attributes to others by comparing them to animals, and one that denies human nature to others by comparing them to objects. For example, the objectification of women in American society. Sociologists emphasize that dehumanization is not simply a private belief, but a cause and consequence of the importance of social group boundaries. Philosophers, like psychologists, define dehumanization as the relegation of others to the status of non-human animals in order to deprive them of shared moral codes. More recently, social neuroscience provides evidence that dehumanization has cognitive correlates. When people associate others with animals and objects, brain regions implicated in normal social cognition fail to activate. But this leads to the question, increasingly common in research on dehumanizing propaganda and its impacts on genocide, of just how exactly dehumanizing discourse enters into the brain and body and reforms social perception. While it is true that genocidal governments and other governments bent on normalizing state violence, for example, the US, here they say during slavery, and I would say also right now, promote images of unwanted populations as animals or objects, such actions tell us little about how they actually are received by civilians. In this piece by researcher Eliza Luft, she goes on to explain that while governments use dehumanizing propaganda, it's not so much that they are converting people to their way of thinking. It's more that the propaganda is amplifying the beliefs already inherent in that population. For example, when they examined anti-Semitic dehumanizing rhetoric used by the Third Reich, they found that that propaganda had a positive impact where anti-Semitism was historically already high, and that propaganda actually had a negative impact where anti-Semitism was low. This has led researchers to conclude that the persuasive power of dehumanizing propaganda actually depends on the listener's predispositions. That propaganda actually amplifies existing feelings, but it doesn't really generate new ones. And interestingly, researchers have found that using dehumanizing propaganda actually creates a backlash effect when the people already disagree with the regime's agenda, when they are already committed to seeing the humanity and dignity of the people that the regime is attempting to dehumanize. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot right now in the US, as people are outraged at the dehumanization of our immigrant population